Except there's a delay then.
Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to Vassar Temple's first live stream Shabbat service. From what we can see, at least from those in the chat, it looks like we have a virtual minyan, so we can begin our service. You can even wish one another Shabbat Shalom in the chat as one way of connecting to each other. Though of course we are embarking upon this form of Shabbat worship and gathering at a very challenging and frightening time. We are grateful for the ability that we have through technology to be together, even if it is a virtual togetherness. Hopefully, we can all feel some sense of connection, just knowing that we are participating in this worship service together, though we cannot see or hear one another. Given the governor's emergency order today, we will not be live streaming from the sanctuary for some time. However, we will set up another way to connect so that we can continue to experience and welcome Shabbat together. Please continue to check your emails. Before we begin, I do want to express some deep appreciation. Thanks to behind the scenes for making this all possible, our tech mavens, Brett Colbert and David Lampel. Brett is here tonight running the equipment. And behind me, our singers, David and Susan Hecht. I encourage you to join with us from your homes. I know it will probably feel a little bit weird. No, you're not praying through your computer screen. You are joining with your virtual community. We will try to lead as normal as possible, though we need to remain near the microphones in order for you to hear us. So that will necessitate some adjustments. And for our first foray into this world of technology, we are using very rudimentary equipment. Understand, we have a stationary web camera connected to the computer. We cannot move it or zoom in. And with all of that, we do welcome your feedback, not tonight, but certainly afterwards. We are learning as we go. And as we begin any new adventure, we do give thanks for the ability that we do have to connect with one another and to welcome Shabbat together. So I invite you to join me in our prayer of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehahyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. We give thanks to you, O God, for enabling us to gather together and share in this moment, virtually and in person, as a community of Vassar Temple. What better song to begin with than our favorite Hine Matov, if you have a prayer book, it's page 128, How Good It Is to Be Together.
Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
This Shabbat had been designated by HIAS, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, as National Refugee Shabbat. And as you know, we had special programming originally scheduled for tomorrow that had to be postponed. We will get to it at some point down the road, because the refugee problem will certainly not go away, and most likely will get worse, and they certainly are among the most vulnerable population for this virus. So I read a reading written by Rabbi Rachel Grant Meyer for Refugee Shabbat, and then Susan will light the candles. You can follow for the blessing on page 120. Shamor v'zachor, we observe and we remember. We welcome Shabbat with 2 candles, one to remember Shabbat and one to make it holy through our observance. Zachor, we remember. After the Jewish people's original journey as refugees, when we fled our biblical oppressors in Egypt, we were given the gift of Shabbat rest. Today, we remember Shabbat by linking ourselves to those who came before us, a people who time and time again were forced to leave home in order to practice Judaism openly and freely. As we remember our ancestors' journeys, we think of the millions of refugees and asylum seekers around the world today, still fleeing violence and persecution because of who they are, so endangered by this virus. Shamor, we observe. We observe Shabbat by creating sacred space in our homes, in our synagogues, and all the places that give us refuge. We hope that the lights we kindle over these holy hours will illumine a path to a world made whole once more, a world in which our rest on this day will inspire us to action on all the days that follow. The flickering of these lights reminds us of the divine spark that is within each of us, all of us equally deserving of dignity and respect, no matter who we are, what we look like, what we believe, or where we call home. Shamor v'zachor, we observe and we remember. May the transformative power of these Sabbath lights embolden us in our pursuit of justice so that we may transform our world.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
We continue to welcome Shabbat with the Sabbath angels who accompany us on this day. Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. בואכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
The liturgy for the Kabbalat Shabbat part of the Friday evening service, the part preliminary prayers with which we welcome Shabbat, traditionally is composed of various psalms that relate to Shabbat and celebration and joy. At this time, I thought I would share a different psalm, Psalm 27. Words of the psalmist seek hope and faith in God in a time of fear and a return to the place of worship. Of David, the Eternal is my light and my help, whom should I fear? The Eternal is a stronghold of my life, whom should I dread? When evil men assail me to devour my flesh, it is they, my foes and my enemies, who stumble and fall. Should an army besiege me, my heart would have no fear. Should war beset me, still would I be confident. One thing I ask of the Eternal, only that do I seek, to live in the house of God all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of God, to frequent God's holy temple. God will shelter me in the divine pavilion on an evil day, grant me the protection of God's tent, raise me high upon a rock. Now is my head high over my enemies round about. I sacrifice in God's tent with shouts of joy, singing and chanting a hymn to Adonai. Adonai, when I cry aloud, have mercy on me, answer me. In your behalf, my heart says, seek my face. O God, I seek your face. Do not hide your face from me. Do not thrust aside your servant in anger. You have ever been my help. Do not forsake me. Do not abandon me, O God, my deliverer. Though my father and mother abandon me, Adonai will take me in. Show me your ways, O God, and lead me on a level path because of my watchful foes. Do not subject me to the will of my foes, for false witnesses and unjust accusers have appeared against me. Had I not the assurance that I would enjoy the goodness of the Eternal in the land of the living, look to Adonai, be strong and of good courage. O look to Adonai. We continue to celebrate and welcome Shabbat with the singing of Lecha Dodi. Following your prayer books, it's on page 139.
Lecha Dodi lekrat kala yadai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala yadai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad ישמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה ידדי 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת דודי, לקראת גלה, ירדה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ירדה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ירדה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורר מולי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ירדה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ירדה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ירדה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ירדה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה.
We mark the transition from our Kabbalat Shabbat service into Aravit, the Mari, the evening service, with Chatzi Kaddish on page 144.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה, בימה דברה כרצה וימליך מלכותי, בחייכם וביומכם ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יש שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולמי ימיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתבר ויתמרן ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי בקודשה ברכו. לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן.
Rise as we are able.
La da 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 da, ya da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 Baruch et Adonai HaMivorach. Baruch Adonai HaMivorach, HaMivorach,
המבורך, המבורך, לעולם ועד.
Continue on the top of page 149, praising God for creation. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai.
Ma'ariv Aravim.
On the next page.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת, אותנו למדת.
כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ומצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ויארך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך תזהיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
We continue on page 154 with the V'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך
בכל
לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך, ובשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי
והייתם קדושים
לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אלוהיכם אמת.
We continue at the top top of page 157 as we read this introduction into our Song of Redemption, the fervent hope of our prayers in these days. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught, or wherever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, and that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב ובלום מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני בעל ישראל. No doubt in that prior reading, that one phrase that we cannot get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together struck us quite loudly on this Shabbat. We cannot physically join hands, but spiritually we do join hands and hearts together in our prayers as we turn to page 161 and join in this prayer for God's protection and strength in this time of darkness, for love and understanding, and shelter from this storm.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Lishalom. Vehamidenu, Shomreinu L'chaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukkot shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Lishalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Baruch atah Adonai hapores sukat shalom aleinu va'akol amo Yisrael va'al Yerushalayim. If there ever was a time and a need to have Shabbat, to disconnect for just a while from all of the news and the worries, to have a true time of rest, it is now. For whatever part of Shabbat we can manage to do, that will be restoration and nourishment for ourselves and for our souls and for our bodies and for our whole being. celebrate Shabbat, Shamru, page 162.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael B'nei Yisrael oti leolam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam.
Turn now to our tefillah, beginning on page 164 with our opening meditation. We will still follow our Vassar Temple tradition and chant the first three blessings together, and then take some time for private prayer. 164, rise as we are able.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Hazdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'nehem, L'man Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mikayeh hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Michachel chaim bechesed, Mikayeh hakol berachamim robim, Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umakayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha b'gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit u'mechayeh, u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, מקיים הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהלוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
As we conclude our tefillah, I would share this prayer written by Rabbi Tamara Cohen. And Moses said, Dayam, enough, enough, enough. Stop, withdraw, bring, do, perform, gather, no more. Let the silver glare of a silent sanctuary, the gold blue of a plainless sky, the garnet sheen of an empty concert hall be our sacred offering. Meager gifts of absence from wise and less wise-hearted people. Please, God, let our seizing be enough. Let our hospital beds be enough. Let our slow awakening to the interconnectedness of every living being be enough. Let a pillar of stillness rest at the entrance to every home and prison. Let this plague pass over us. Enough of us. Enough.
Oh, say shalom, bimrom avuyaseh. Shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
As we turn to our prayer for healing, most certainly we take into our prayers the thousands who are struggling with coronavirus. We pray for healing, those whose loved ones have fallen victim to this disease and perished. And I offer this prayer for those who help. May the one who blessed and led our forebears give countenance unto those who provide help for the ill and troubled among us. May they be filled with fortitude and courage, endowed with sympathy and compassion, as they give strength to those at their side. May they fight against despair and continue to find within themselves the will to reach out to those in need. And in their love of others, may they feel the blessing of community and the blessing of renewed faith. Send your protection over them, O God, as they put their lives in danger to save and heal others. Amen.
Amen.
The words from Mishavera are on page 371.
Misheberach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Li'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Given that this is a live stream and open to the public at very large, we did not feel comfortable reading the names of those on our Mishavera list. Please take a few moments. You may say aloud in your private spaces or hold in your hearts the dear ones for whom you are praying at this time, as I will hold the names, our community lists, in my heart and my prayers. May all our loved ones be granted a refuah shlema, a full and speedy recovery.
Misheberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Li'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Hopefully we do have some joys to share. Little joys take on greater meaning in such times of struggle. I will just share that it was our eldest child's birthday this week, and we felt for her, not able to go out to celebrate with her friends, nor was anybody comfortable gathering. We've developed a tradition, since we are all scattered, of having a family Skype at some point on someone's birthday. And so that took on special meaning this year. So, Carly, if you're watching, happy birthday. I love you. Hopefully we can all find little bits of joy to brighten up these dark days. In 2012, MIT professor Sherry Turkell coined the phrase, "alone together," as part of the title for her book, exploring the impact of technology on our human interactions. Think teens sitting around a table together, texting one another, rather than talking to one another. And in an op-ed in the New York Times this week, author Priya Parker, who wrote The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters, wrote a piece that she entitled, How to Be Together Apart in the Time of Coronavirus. Alone together, together apart. We know that we can feel alone in the midst of community, whether it is in fact our technology that is taking us away from human interactions, or just because we may not be connecting to those around us. And our challenge now is to find ways to feel together even while we are physically apart. For us as a religious community, there is an added element to our being apart, being out of this, our sacred space. For us, our community generally means being together here in our synagogue, in this sanctuary of Vassar Temple. Coincidentally, or perhaps not, for these past few weeks, our Torah reading has focused on the building of the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary in the wilderness. 3 weeks ago, we read how Moses received the command from God to build it. Last week, we had the diversion of the golden calf. And this week, Moses gives the command to the Israelites, and they immediately respond by bringing all of the items needed to build the tabernacle. And the book of Exodus draws to a close with the erection of the tabernacle. With such focus on a physical space where the Israelites would meet God, it may be surprising to find the deeper messages within that, despite all of the details describing the Mishkan. It's not really about the space at all. Indeed, the command given to Moses to build the sanctuary was Va'asuli Mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, and let them make me a sanctuary that I might dwell among them. The language is very clear, that I might dwell among them, not within it. The tabernacle could only be built from the contributions from those whose heart so moved them, from the people working together with a willing spirit. Indeed, the opening words of this week's parsha further emphasize the communal element of this project. Vayakel Moshe ekol adat b'nei Yisrael, and Moses convoked the whole community of Israel, and the whole community responded. It wasn't the structure that invited God's presence to dwell within. Rather, it was the people joined together in a united effort that created space for the divine. Furthermore, within the details for the tabernacle, God designs the inner court containing the ark with the tablets, with a cover over it in pure gold, with 2 cherubim on its ends. Now, it's unclear just what these cherubim were. They were winged creatures with faces, most likely figures with animal bodies, but human faces. Thus says God, there I will meet you, and I will impart to you from above the cover, from between the 2 cherubim that are on top of the ark of the pact, all that I will command you concerning the Israelite people. It is in this structure, in between these 2 figures most closely representing human beings, that God's presence would be experienced. We experience God in human relationships. We see that linguistically as well. The Hebrew name for the tabernacle, Mishkan, comes from the root for the word to dwell. In Hebrew, a neighbor is a shechina, and one of our names for God is Shekhinah, divine presence, indwelling. When we are acting as true neighbors, as community, we invite the Shekhinah to dwell among us. Once settled in the Promised Land, our ancestors understood God's presence as being felt most closely in the temple in Jerusalem, the one place where sacrifices could be offered. And so it was for about 1,000 years. The destruction of the temple and the exile of the people from Judea could have been cataclysmic for Jewish life. But the rabbis understood that God was not limited to that space as they taught. You find that whenever they were exiled, the Shekhinah, divine presence, was exiled with them. And when they return, the Shekhinah will return with them. So, even if we are exiled, as it were, from our synagogue, from our sacred space, Shekhinah will still be with us as we find new ways to gather as a Kehillah Kedoshah, a sacred community. Such innovation, adaptation, though perhaps unnerving, is not new to us. In fact, innovation is intrinsic to Jewish survival. Indeed, when the Second Temple was destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE, it seemed to portend the end of Jewish life. However, because of the courage and ingenuity of some rabbis, the standing up to others who opposed their creativity, Judaism was transformed into what we know today. If we could no longer worship God through sacrifice, we would through prayer, and the synagogue replaced the temple. The Shabbat table became our altar, and Torah study a path to experience God. The festivals were repurposed. Passover, for example, now emphasized the Exodus rather than spring harvest offerings. And the rabbis developed what is now the most commonly practiced ritual in Jewish life, the Seder, modeled after Roman meals. So too, can we continue in this tradition of adaptation and redefine what it means to be a community, taking advantage of these tools of technology to connect us, not only now in this time of national emergency, but integrating technology into our regular activities to connect more people for worship, for learning, for community. There I will meet you, said God, wherever we gather, if we are face to face, physically or virtually. We can invite God's presence to dwell among us if we are in real relationship with one another. Martin Buber, the great Jewish philosopher of the 20th century, whose seminal work redefined our understanding of God's presence to be in real I-thou relationships between people, wrote critically of modern society. He challenged many community structures as not being real community because they don't foster true connections between people, because they are based on so much superficiality and not on deep and lasting relationships. He called for something more meaningful. The divine may come to life in individual man, may reveal itself from within individual man, but it attains its earthly fullness only where individual beings open themselves to one another, disclose themselves to one another, help one another, where immediacy is established between one human being and another, where this takes place, where the eternal rises in the between, the seemingly empty space. The true place of realization is community. And true community is that relationship in which the divine comes to its realization between man and man. Judaism, therefore, is not concerned with a God who lives in the far beyond, for its God is content to reside in the realm between one earthly being and the other, as if they were cherubim on the holy ark. These words of Buber, this is the community we strive to create, one that fosters real relationships where we can share our truest selves. On the one hand, that may seem especially challenging now, but perhaps we might just find that space in the more intimate connections that we can make as we strive to overcome our social isolation. Phone conversations, FaceTime, virtual dinners with friends, these can be opportunities for developing deeper bonds that we might be alone together. Our understanding of community has taken on an additional meaning in this health crisis. As we strive to stop its spread, to flatten the curve, we have come to understand just how interconnected we are. First and foremost, being part of the larger community, whether it means Poughkeepsie and its environs, New York, the United States, or now this global community of humanity united in fighting this virus, It means that we have obligations to others. Following healthcare protocols, including social distancing, is not only for our own health and well-being and that of those who are closest to us, but it is for other members of this larger community, most especially those who are most vulnerable. It is absolutely appalling to see news reports of young people on beaches and bars gathered together in large groups as if nothing is going on. Yes, young people tend to have a sense of invincibility, but this is about so much more than them. If you have young people within your family circle, I implore you to underscore to them the importance of their following these guidelines for the health of others. But our new sense of community calls upon everyone to step up and help out. As our leaders have been saying, this is a time of war. In whatever ways that we can, we need to support those on the front lines, our healthcare workers, our emergency responders. They must have adequate equipment to function, for they are putting their health at risk to care for others. Similarly, we owe a sense of gratitude and support to those who are keeping essential businesses open so that our needs can be met. And as the numbers of the sick and dying continue to rise, we'll be called upon to support one another in ways that we could not have imagined before this moment. The economic impact of this virus is simply beyond comprehension, and we know that its effects will be felt long after that day when the virus itself will finally be conquered. Our Jewish Federation is coordinating an effort to support those who are in need and to provide opportunities for those who are able to volunteer. Mitzvah Day is being transformed from a one-day event that can no longer happen as had been scheduled to ongoing opportunities to help others. Being a community means that we will be there for one another, that we will stand together for the long haul, that we will support one another and make it through this time, whether we can be physically together or not. This afternoon, Governor Cuomo announced an executive order taking effect Sunday night that all non-essential workers are to stay home. We will figure out our plan to keep this temple functioning, and we will develop more opportunities to connect virtually. Sadly, but necessarily, this will mean more social isolation. I'm grateful to Judy Rosenfeld, our RAU chair, for coordinating an effort to reach out to those who may be most isolated or at risk of being so, and developing a group of callers who will keep in touch. Thanks to many who have stepped up to make these calls. Even more, we can each be intentional every day to reach out to friends, to neighbors, to check in, to stay connected, so that we will not be in exile from one another, even as we are isolated. Have virtual dinners with friends, maybe virtual Shabbat dinners, and send us photos to post on our Facebook page. We need to spread the message that we can be alone together, for social isolation is indeed frightening. I happened to hear part of Governor Cuomo's press conference on Tuesday, and I was moved by how personally he spoke and the way he addressed the very real feels that we all have in this most uncertain time. At what point, he held up his hands, one finger in each hand like this, and said, "It is this much time. We don't know if it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, but it is this much time, and we will get through it. There is a beginning, and there is an end point. We don't know the end date, nor what will transpire in between, but there will be an end point, and we will get through it together as we learn how to be alone together." The book of Exodus began with the enslavement of the Israelites. We concluded the Shabbat with the erection of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, the place of God's indwelling. In his commentary on Exodus, the noted biblical scholar and German Reform Rabbi Benno Jacob wrote, "Our book, which began in darkness, concludes in the brilliant illumination of God's glory before the eyes of the entire house of Israel. So may we, through our support of one another, through true community that invites the Shekhinah to dwell among us wherever we are. Transform together this time of darkness into one of light and of hope. Keni Hiratzon. We turn back in our prayer books, if you have them, to that prayer that encapsulates our hopes for that day yet to come, the Aleinu, and rise as we're able.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, lateit gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishbechot adama, shelo sam chelchenu chahem, vegor aleinu kekol hamonam. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
I read on page 594. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love what death has touched. On this Shabbat, we remember still in the period of Shloshim, Lila Matlin, Gertrude Silverman, Edward Goldstein. And on the anniversaries of their passings, we remember Esther G. Reingold, Bessie Kaplan, Sonia Markovich, Max Solomon, Idane Evans Salinger, Vaughn Jennifer Salinger, Joseph Foyer, Meyer A. Wolfson, Judith Newman, Esther Temlock, Leonard Nectow, Lillian Schwartz, Lena Baskin, Scott Bucksbaum, Harry Mamis, Kurt Similes, Catherine Lerner Mamis, Ann R. Margolin, Bruce Weber, Pearl Bedijol Goldberg, Eli Gellert, Marianne Rabinowitz, Solji Lipschitz, Sarah Singer, Gary Feder, Michael Feder, Gary Shissa, Erwin Shissa, Claire Sherwin, Gwendolyn Harlem, Ruth Kovacs, May Miller Clampert, Sarah Benton Childs, Anne Marie Teutsch. We hold in our hearts any others whom we are remembering at this time. Yehi Zechronam Livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. We turn to page 598 for Mourner's Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon yomechon v'chayei chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalav b'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei olamaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalel v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha brichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehi shmama rabba min shemaya,
וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, באמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, באמרו אמן.
May the source of peace bring comfort and healing to each whose heart is bereaved. As we turn to our closing song, Adon Olam on page 625, just to remind you that Torah study will be by Zoom tomorrow morning at its regular time. And I just realized I said 9:55, that will start at 10, but normally we start at 9. So I guess we'll start at 10 tomorrow, since that's what I wrote. That was a mistake. Okay.
Okay.
And I just want to thank, once again, David and Susan Hecht and Brett Colbert, who behind the scenes has been running and adjusting volume, and hopefully you heard and you saw, and please do give us feedback, and please check your emails for notices as we do adapt as we go.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'ed Nasa V'Hafso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'Acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimlok Nora Vehu Haya Vehu Hoveh Vehu Yiyeh Betifara Vehu Yiyeh Betifara Vehu Echad V'yeh Sheni Lehamshilo Lehachbira Beli Reshit, Beli Tachlit, Velo Haoz, Vehamizra, Velo Haoz, Vehamizra, Vehu Eli, Vechago Ali, Vetzur Hevli, Bietzara, Vehu Nisi, Umanos Li, Menat Kosi B'yom Ekra Menat Kosi B'yom Ekra B'yado Akid Ruchi B'yet Ishan B'yaira V'im Ruchi Geviati Adonai Li V'lo Ira Adonai li v'lo ira.
And if you give us just one moment, we will conclude by joining together in Kiddush, pages 122 and 123. Vayerev vayivoker yom hashishi, and there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. The heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu V'shabbat kadsha b'ava uvratzon imkilanu Zikaron l'maseh v'reshit Ki hu yom techila l'mikrae kodesh Zecher litziat Mitzrayim Ki vanu v'acharta V'otanu kidashta
Mikol Amim V'Shabbat Kadshecha B'Yava Uvratzon Inachaltanu Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Amen. L'chaim.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom. And what you don't know is Brett was singing a mean backup. Next time we'll have to get him a mic. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.